Like Professor Testorelli said, I'm Francesco, and she's Beatrice, and we are here today to introduce a special guest. She's a consultant strategist and an international expert in human rights, gender-based violence, and child protection. She has a background in European law and LLM, translational crimes and justice.
So since 2019, Annachiara has been the director of Protection4kids, a foundation supporting minors who are victims of human trafficking and exploitation. She has trained peacekeepers and lectured around the world, but what drives her work is a deep commitment to dignity, justice, and real change. So please join us in welcoming Annachiara Sarto.
Thank you, guys.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your Captain Andrew Helbig speaking. On behalf of myself and the entire crew, we just want to thank you for joining us on VoiceOver Airlines for your travels today. Please review the safety information found at the bottom of this video, and sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the in-flight movie.
Hello, guys. I'm very happy to be here with you all today. I am Annachiara. Thank you very much for the introduction. And it may be a weird beginning for you all. And the last time you probably heard this sound, or a similar one, it was when you were probably going on holiday, or you were probably going back to see your family. How many of you here are from a foreign country? A couple? Okay. So why did I decide to start this talk with this sound? Because for myself, it has been fundamental, traveling through different countries and meeting different stories, meeting different people around the world. So today, fasten your seatbelt, because what I would like to do is that I would like to bring you around this journey with me. So let's start from South Africa. Imagine to be in Cape Town. Have you ever been in South Africa? No one? Raise your hands if you have. Okay. Okay, so it was 2016, and I decided that I wanted to go on exchange. I was doing classical studies, and I decided that I wanted to do the exchange experience in South Africa. Usually, exchange, you can go in America, in Australia, etc., etc. I'm going to be very honest with you. And the selection of South Africa, it was because it was the cheapest location. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know what was going to happen there. But it was January, and I left for South Africa. I had 17 years old, and my life changed from that time. It was really, a life-changing experience to me, because one day, I was in a pizza delivery shop. I was living with the host family, and one day, the host mommy, she got a call, and she answered, and she seemed extremely, extremely worried. And I was like, what happened? What does she have? And so she told me, Annachiara, we have to go immediately to Noah's school. Noah was a 4-year-old boy. And so there we go. We went to the school, and we found 2 teachers. They were crying. They were extremely shocked. And they told us, a couple of minutes before we called you, something happened. So 2 fake parents came to the school, and they kidnapped 4 children in the same classroom of Noah. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was totally shocked. I was totally shocked because I was used to live in Castelfranco Veneto, in the northeast of Italy, and I always heard these stories, happening very distant to me, to people that I didn't know. So in that moment, the 4 little boys that were kidnapped, I met them, I knew them. A couple of days before, we were in a birthday party, and they were there. So that day, I went back home, and during night, I started to look and to do some research. And I saw that in 2016, the year I was in South Africa, a child was missing every 9 hours. So I always say that when I left to go in South Africa, you know, my dream job, my dream was becoming the director of the Modern Museum of Modern Art in New York. I was passionate about contemporary modern art, and then I came back from South Africa that I really wanted to study human rights. So here it comes, the second step of our journey, and we go in the Netherlands. Have you ever been to the Netherlands? Yes? Okay. Where have you been? In the Netherlands? Amsterdam? Yes, okay. So I decided to do the Hague University of Applied Sciences, which is an international European law university there. And the first day of university, something again happened that then changed my life. We had this professor, she was beautiful. Everyone was in love with her. And the first day it was the welcoming ceremony. And then what happened was basically that this professor put some music, she came to the hall, and she was like, guys, tonight, when you finish, go home and start to look online at your dream job, at the vacancies of your dream job. Then, after that, look at the requirements that they ask. From today, not from when you finish the university, but from today, start to work in order to get those requirements. So that evening, I went back home, and I started to look the requirements that they were asking, you know, to do like jobs on child protection, on human rights protection, and these kind of things. All the requirements, every one of them, they were asking at least 2 languages. And that was the minimum. Then they were asking 3 up to 4 years of experience, you know, these kind of things, I guess. They were asking experience on the field. That for me, experience on the fields mean that, like for my kind of sector, you have to go in an emergency context. Emergency context is like where there are wars, where there have been earthquakes. And I was like, how am I gonna do to get this kind of job if I need to have these requirements and I have to study? So from that evening, I started to send email around the world. I wanted to go during summer in a human rights NGO to see the victims of violations of human rights. The books were not enough for me, and I wanted to know more. So here it comes Nepal. I received an email from an organization that is called Chori. Chori in Nepalese means daughter. Chori is this organization in Kathmandu that basically they fight against some preference culture, forced exploitation, false prostitution, and all these kind of crimes. So I left 2019 and I went in Nepal. I started to live with victims of human rights. I started to live with victims of forced prostitution. One day, here it comes, the operation officer of Chori. She came to me and she was like, you know what? Today, we're gonna go to brothels, we're gonna go to cabin restaurants, we're gonna go to fake spas. We're gonna meet girls, minors, so below the age of 18, who are forced to prostitution. Can you please, she asked me, can you please fake yourself to be a lesbian client? And when you're in front of one of these, you can basically explain her how to escape and get recovery in Chori. I'm telling you guys, I don't know if it was immaturity, I don't know if it was adrenaline, maybe a mixture of the two, but I did that. So that day, I started to go to fake myself as a lesbian client, and we started to go in this fake spa. And these cabin restaurants were the only thing you could order in these cabin restaurants and dance bar were sexual intercourses from minors. I can tell. I don't know if anyone of you saw the movie Taken. Taken, yeah? Okay, so basically there's a scene in this movie where there is a moment where there is a stage, not as beautiful as this one, where basically they sell girls. I saw exactly the same thing, but with minors. They were all with red lipstick. They were wearing high heels, much more higher, much more big than their foot. And we had to do something. We had to intercept, we had to find the girls that did not assume as much drug as they could not understand what we were saying. So we had to kind of decide to whom we had to talk. So we did this, and if you're wondering where were these cabin restaurants and dance bar, they were in the neighborhood of Kathmandu. There were no women in the streets. I was the only one with the girls of the organization. You know, in this kind of neighborhood, there were just like people on drugs, and they were, you know, drinking alcohol. It was scary. I think that only when I was there, I realized the risk I was taking. And then this cabin restaurant, fake spa, they were, you know, on the underground of factories, abandoned factories. And to go there, I had to shake the hands of the human traffickers. I could have been killed in a second if they would have known that I was there, you know, to write legal investigative reports, to take pictures, etc., etc. Then, the day after, 4 little girls that I met in these spas came to Chori. That was a life-changing moment to me. You know, I risked a lot, and if I had to go back, I will not do the same in that circumstances. But that saved the life of those 4 little girls. And here it is. These are some of the girls that are now in Chori, and this is the organization. But then what happened? So I came back in Italy, and basically I had a friend that is a very well-known Italian journalist. Now he works with FanPage, and I told him what happened. I told about this story in Nepal, the fact that I faked myself to be a client, and all of this. And he was like, you know, I want to write about this. Please, let me write about this. He wrote an article. In 2 weeks, like, all the biggest newspapers contacted me because they wanted me to release some interviews to tell more about this. It happened that a very well-known CEO saw one of these articles or one of the interviews on the television, and he called me. He was like, hello, can you please have a chat with me? Can you come to my office? I want to have a chat with you. I saw what you did. I was like, I did some research. I knew what he was doing, but still, I wanted to know more. And so I started to look what he was doing. And I saw that he had this massive multinational company in all over, with offices in all over the world, from Miami to Los Angeles to Madrid to wherever. And he was working with the digital world. I went to his office, and he told me, you know what? It may seem that we do two things that are very different from each other, but all my people, all my team, all the people that work with me, they tell me on a daily basis that in the digital world, there are thousands of URLs where you can buy people. There are sites in the deep and in the dark web where you can actually buy a minor. You can actually buy a woman. You can even decide, you know, like in the video game, you can select the type of hair, height, weight. You can select everything. And they can get a minor exactly as you order in your address. I knew this because since 2018, I was working for the anti-trafficking department of Washington, D.C. And with them, we were studying how ethical hacking could somehow fight human trafficking. So this CEO was like, okay, please, try to make a plan, a business plan, and try to build this plan for establishing an NGO that fight this crime in a way that has been never done before. In the same field where human traffickers commit their crimes, in the web. I was 19 years old, and I was still going to the university. So I started to while I was working, I started to get in touch with professors of university, etc., and it was the 10th of August. You know that in Italy, usually in August, a couple of weeks, you go on holiday. So the day after, I had to leave to go in Croatia and to spend 2 weeks there on vacation. But he told me, you have 2 weeks. If it's good, I'm gonna find it. I can tell, I came back from that vacation that I didn't even see the sun. I didn't even see the swimming pool. I didn't even see the sea. I was staying, I did stay 2 weeks in that little room of the place, and I started to do some research. I started to make it up, something, but there was not something I could take inspiration, because he wanted a way to fight the crime that was not existing. I'm a very eclectic person, and I really like to study the etymology of the words. If my Greek and Latin professor will hear me now, they will not believe it, because I had a constant mark of 3.75 in all the Greek exams we were doing. But, eclectic comes from ek lego, to collect from. And I like to collect information, inspiration from other people, from other stories, from other countries, from other cultures. And so I went back to the CEO with this plan, more than 200 pages, and there was not AI at the time we could use, so I had to write them, all the words. And he was like, okay, I will give you the money, I'm gonna fund this project. So here is how Protection4Kids was born. Protection4Kids, it's an NGO. We fight violation of human rights. Our main mission was to fight human trafficking, especially trafficking of minors. So in the beginning, that was our mission. We wanted to do it in a different way, but in order to do that, we had to study it. What is human trafficking? You may be wondering, why human trafficking? There are so many crimes in the world. Why did you decide human trafficking? Of course, it was connected to the issue of my life, to the experience I lived. But do you know that human trafficking, according to Europol, is the fastest growing crime in the world? More than trafficking of drugs, more than trafficking of weapons, human trafficking is the fastest growing crime in the world. The number of victims, the counted victims, it's 40 million. Say counted, because you know that in this kind of crime, it's not very easy to count the missing ones. 40 million is quite a high number. It's like the inhabitants of Algeria. And then, human trafficking is a gender-based crime. The 72%, according to Europol and UN Women, of the victims of human trafficking are women and girls. And this is not enough, because the 20% of the victims of human trafficking are children, so below the age of 18. So, what do you think? And now the floor is yours. What do you think that the human trafficking can have in common with, for example, Nike, Facebook, or Disneyland? Any volunteer? There's no right or a wrong answer, there's many one.
Simply very low labor cost. And yeah, simply is that. As long as I don't need to pay someone to work, it is the most efficient choice.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Human trafficking, in one side, Disneyland, Facebook, Nike. What can you have in common? The money, the revenue. Human trafficking is one of the largest businesses in the world. You know what is the revenue that human trafficking make every year, more or less? It's like the sum of the revenue of Nike, Facebook, and Disneyland. And here it is. So this was shocking to me, honestly. Like in the beginning, when I saw this kind of data, I was totally shocked by this. And then we started to find out some more things, because as I said, we had to create something that it was not existing, right? So from 2010, we studied that the crimes related to human trafficking were associated for the 84% with the use of social media. And you know, why? Why do you think so? How? Because people have been started to be recruited as victims of human trafficking through social media. Guess which is the social media #1 that is used to recruit victims of human trafficking? What? Try. Instagram, okay? Yes, indeed. TikTok. First one is TikTok, second is Instagram, then we have Facebook. Don't look at LinkedIn. It's just a mistake. So here it is. So we started, you know, to study how young generations were using social media, and we were studying the gaps of this social media. I make an example. So, for example, you know, we were studying and we were assisting the servizi segreti italiani, the intelligence, a couple of years ago, I think it was 2020, on all the social challenges, you know, that there was that time, that there were all the social challenges, there are still nowadays, but they kind of, they found it out a couple of years ago. And, you know, we started to see how people were using social media, how, for example, if you write in TikTok a name of a challenge, you cannot find it. But if you find the name of the challenge, putting an hashtag before, you will find everything. So we started the gaps, we studied the gaps, and we started to work on the gaps. So that's how we started. And there were no NGO having this approach. We built it, thanks to professors, thanks to experts, etc., etc. And then we found that, you know, these kind of crimes somehow always happen to the most vulnerable one. So, for example, if there's a war, that's where this kind of crime will happen the most. If there's an earthquake, that's where this kind of crime will happen the most. You know, an interesting fact. So when started the war, Ukraine, Russia, you know, the demand of porn with the Ukrainian and Russian actresses, the demand rose of the 300%. That's not a case because you know very well that when there's demand, they will provide services. So that's what we study, and that's what we're doing. We understand that, okay, on the social, but that's also emergency context where we had to go. So I'm going to share with you now some results that Protection4kids, thanks to the work of many people and of a team especially, reach nowadays. We conducted 16 humanitarian missions in emergency context. I was in all of them. 16 humanitarian missions. So why do we go on humanitarian mission? Because before starting a project, before starting a business plan to initiate a program, we have to go there. We have to meet with the people. We have to understand whether or not we can help those people. First mission, Bosnia-Herzegovina. You may have seen a couple of years ago all the pictures of immigrants that were barefoot with minus 30 degrees in the Balkan route. We decided that we wanted to go there because we know that that's a vulnerable moment for these vulnerable people. That's when they can be attacked. That's when they can be recruited. And the fun fact about this mission is that it was our first mission. And how we started that mission, I don't even know how we managed to do that. We had 16 trucks, more than 20 experts coming with us and volunteers, legal, business people, whatever, communication ones. We had a lot of people, we had an equipe. And in order to pay the petrol and to pay the highways, my colleague and I, we had a box full of coins that one of the priests of the church collected in order to fund and sponsor this humanitarian mission. Every time we were taking a highway, we were scared that the money would have not be enough. And we had this box full of coins, and that's how we started. Then we found a project in Gambia. Gambia is the smallest country of Africa and one of the 10 poorest countries in the world. We wanted to build a project there in Gambia. Why? Because we got in touch with a football player that became even famous here in Europe, but then he got injured and he came back in Gambia, and he built a football academy. And he called me one day, he found the Protection for Kids on Google, he called me, and he was like, I want to talk with you, please come here, there's a lot of work for you to do here. After a couple of years, we managed to go in Gambia, and we went to the school, the local school, and we talked with the principal of the school, and we're like, what do you need? Like, can we help you? What can we do here? I wasn't expecting them saying like, please give us this amount of thousands of euro, please buy us computer, please do this, please do that. And it was like, please fix the toilets. I was like, fix the toilets? Why fix the toilets? I mean, we're here, we're saying that we can provide some services, provide money, provide funds. What can we do in order to help, really? Fix the toilets. So I asked why. I mean, don't you have other priorities? Fix the toilets? I was like, you know what? Come with me. There's no toilets in the school, and human traffickers know this. I was like, what the hell? Why are you talking about human traffickers and the toilets? And it was like, when children need to go to the bathroom, they cannot go to the bathroom because the bathrooms are broken. So what they do is that they go on the field next to the school. Human traffickers know this, and they're there on the field waiting for the babies that go, and they kidnap them. So we started to create a project, and after 1 year we came back, and we fixed 20 bathrooms in the school, and that was just the beginning. Last year we brought the water to the school. This year we brought electricity to the school. Another fun fact was that a French NGO gave us a gift to the school, a classroom full of computers. There were like 60. But there was no electricity in the school. So that's why, you know, it's very important to go there in loco and to understand the necessities, what you can do, what you cannot do, if you can do, if it's better that you go back home. So that's our approach. And this approach is also new because it doesn't exist. I founded Protection for Kids, and I founded Protection for Kids, the possibility for people like you that decide that they want to go on a humanitarian mission just to do an experience. Because at the time, a couple of years ago, I wanted to go on a humanitarian mission. And I started to look, where should I go on a humanitarian mission? And I found all these websites selling humanitarian mission. It was like 4,000 euro to go on a humanitarian mission in Kenya. That's maybe too high, isn't it? So I wanted to create the possibility for people to actually do an experience like this and go where they wanted to go to help other people. And believe it or not, every time our goal is going there and help other people, and it ends up that they help us more than what we help them. Then we have Nepal, Kathmandu. That's where everything started, right? One day, Hira Dahal, the founder of Chori, called me, and she was, Annachiara, Chori is gonna close. was like, how come? Yeah, COVID happened and we don't have funds anymore to run Chori. So I was like, okay, now we need to do something. That's how we started the program in Nepal, in Kathmandu. And now from that building, they have 3 buildings. And we trained an equipe of people that every day go around fake bar and fake spa and fake restaurants, and they save the life of children that are victims of exploitation. And the last time I was in Nepal, it was last year. Basically, every time we go there, we make a circle. We stay in touch with the victims. And we want to talk with them. We want to see how it's going, if we can do something more. And the last time we were there, you know, some of the girls wanted to share their story with us. And there was this girl, Keithang, 13 years old, that she wanted to share with us that she had been raped by her dad. And I'm very used, as you can imagine, to hear these kind of stories because it's some years that I'm working with this on a daily basis. But that day, hearing this girl telling me this story, it made me extremely sad. I was extremely emotional. Obviously, I didn't want to make this, you know, visible for her especially, and for all the others. So then there is this tradition that when one of the girls finishes to talk, she hugs you. And so I hugged her because I wanted to thank her of gifting me with her story. And then I realized that she was hugging me. She felt, you know, how I was feeling, and she was the one hugging me. So that's the emotion I made my job full of on a daily basis. And then we have Greece. The value of Protection for Kids, I understood the value, I understood what Protection for Kids is thanks to this mission here in Greece. In Greece, we've been like 7 times, almost. And when you think about Greece, you may think about Corfu, you may think about Mykonos, you may think about all the nice places you can go, you know, for celebrating your graduation. But in Greece, you know, it's part of the Balkan route. A lot of people are coming in Greece from Syria, Turkey, and wherever. And what happened in Greece is that one day I had to conduct an interview with Heidi, a 21-year-old boy. He came from Afghanistan. He came there with his family. And we were there with FanPage doing this interview. And then at the end of the interview, it was like, Annachiara, can I please ask a question to you now that you're done? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Please, go ahead. He was like, you know what? In the last days, I started to do a little job in the harbor. And every time I go there and I come back home, I see a lot of people that are sitting in bars and restaurants, and they laugh, and they talk, and they eat. But what do they talk about? What do they laugh about? I didn't really have an answer to that. What I did the day after was inviting him for a dinner, and I was like, let's see if we can talk, if we can laugh. But can you imagine to have in front of you a person that does not know or what you talk and laugh about when you're sitting in bars and restaurants? So one day, he texted me. It was a Sunday evening. I was watching a movie on the sofa. It was raining outside. It was May. And he was like, hey, Anna, when are you guys coming back? We just fixed the date of the humanitarian mission for September. So it was like, hey, we're going to come the 20, I don't remember, of September. I was like, okay, thank you. It was May. And then what happened was that 4 days before the humanitarian mission in Greece, he texted me. And I was there watching this movie, and he was like, he sent me 3 words. 4 days remain. I even forgot that I told him in May that we were gonna there the 20th of September. And he was doing the countdown for our arrival. So that's when I felt what Protection for Kids was. They were doing the countdown for our arrival. What do? Of course, we do the digital against human trafficking, but then we bring humanitarian aid in emergency context to the ones that do not have access to the basic needs, like food, medical equipment, etc., etc. From 2018 until nowadays, we brought 120 tons of humanitarian aid. You know, 120 tons of humanitarian aid is like the weight of 120 elephants. But that's just one of the results of Protection for Kids. Last year, we started to train people on gender-based violence, on violence that happens on the digital world. And last year, only me, I trained 5,000 people. Imagine how many were trained by the old Protection for Kids. 300K is the amount that only our main sponsor invested in Protection for Kids in 5 years. We have more than 100 active volunteers all over the world that come to the mission with us, that join us, that help us. And we have more than 150 businesses that support us nowadays. This means that we have more than 150 CEOs that listen to us, listen to our values, listen to what we do, listen to our modus operandi, and they decided to invest in us. So that is what Protection for Kids is and what Protection for Kids is doing nowadays. If you want to come on humanitarian mission, you know that you can come when you want. And while I was doing Protection for Kids, I really wanted to work for the UN. I wanted to try to work for the UN, for the United Nations. So one day, I started to receive many invitations for conferences around the world to talk about human trafficking. And one day, I got invited in Puglia by Sor Optimist Club with the Blessing Ocadion, that she has won the prize for peace by Barack Obama. And we were there, and there were 2 women that were working for the UN there. They invited me for a coffee. I was excited. I couldn't wait to go there and have this coffee with these 2 people working for the United Nations. I was like, that's my dream job. So I went to this coffee, and these 2 women, they were like, you know what? It doesn't matter your CV. It doesn't matter how much you study. It doesn't matter the passion you have. You will not get in the United Nations. You cannot. Like, only people that know other people within the UN can go and work for the UN. At that point, I had made, during my nights, 98 applications to work for the United Nations. I don't know if you ever tried. They recruit whichever position. And you can apply through this portal that is called Inspira. To make one application in Inspira, you can take from 2 to 4 hours if you do it quick. At that time, I made 98. And then I had this coffee with these two women saying, I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't mean if you made 16 humanitarian missions, it doesn't mean anything. So that evening, I went back home. And I made 2 applications for the United Nations. Some months later, I got a letter, an email, from the United Nations. And the United Nations recruited me as a consultant, first as an intern and then as a consultant. With that application, I made that evening after the talk with these 2 women. So that's where I started to become a consultant. I became a consultant for the United Nations, Department of Peacekeeping Operation New York. I started to work with the NATO in Vicenza. I started to work as being the legal responsible for the Save the Children Italia. And that's where I started. So what I really wanted to do and to say to you all today is that it doesn't matter what they will say. It doesn't matter how much competition there will be. It doesn't matter if they say you cannot get this job if you don't know anyone in the place, in the business, or wherever you want to do. It doesn't matter. If you do want something, you can achieve that something. And trust me that one day, this person, this one of the 2 women, followed me on LinkedIn, and she saw Annachiara Sarto started a new position as consultant at the United Nations. And she texted me. I was like, yeah, you see? How did you do it? I was like, you know, it was thanks to you. You gave me the power, you gave me the energy. That night, after our talk, I went home, I did the application, and I got in with that application. Thank you so much. So that's what I wanted to share with you all today. And I'm very happy to be here because I really like the approach that this school has and the approach that this university has. I think it's you know, something very unique. And you should feel very lucky to be here, to having, you know, to have the luckiness of meeting the professor you have and to study the subject you're studying. The last step of our journey, it's Dubai. And it's something that is gonna, you know, it's not yet happened, but it will happen. And I received an invitation in order to design a university course in one of the best universities of Dubai, business and finance. You say, how can you teach business and finance with your background? And we're gonna basically build a course that it doesn't exist nowadays. It will be on social entrepreneur, and they asked me to present the business model of Protection4kids. So in October, I will be in Dubai doing this course. And this was also one of the dreams I had. When I was a little girl, my mom were asking me, what do you want to do in the future? And I was like, I want to do, you know, I want to do public speaking. I want to do university. And she was like, yeah, you can do that, but you know, you have something to tell. You need first to have something to tell to people. And I'm very happy that with the work of the people that works with me here in the first row, Lucrezia and Giulia, and all the others, we managed to build what we have today, and we look forward to inspire and to get in touch with people like you. So thank you very much.
So thank you very much. It was inspiring,
Thank
as
you.
the talk is. We will ask 2 questions, one each,
Sure.
and then we will open the floor for questions from the audience. So my first question was, since you advocate for systemic change and systems are made of people, so have you ever encountered instances where within either the humanitarian or the legal world that you encounter resistance that surprised you?
Well, that happens on a daily basis, really. It's a great question because, you know, when they ask this kind of question, I think about all these faces of these people I meet on a daily basis. And, you know, in the first moment of my academic and professional life, I had an approach. I was very impulsive. I was, you know, getting very angry, and I was feeling sad for all this kind of resistance to have a major goal like this. And after that, I started to see that it was not worth it, right? So I started to get each one of these obstacles as energy in order to show them we could do that. So there's a lot, and you will encounter every day. You will encounter even friends that you think they were friends and they were not, probably. You will find, you know, colleagues that will try to do this. But trust me, that's going to be your energy. That's where you can take your energy.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
And we said before that H farm, the H stands for human, and human is a key component for our community. In your sector, where burnout is common and cynicism can creep in, what keeps us human?
That's a great question. I must share with you that if the people that work with me and if the people that comes with us in humanitarian mission will not do a psychological path, they could not do the work we're doing in the way we're doing it. There was this taboo. I think that nowadays we're trying to, you know, overcome it. But there was this kind of taboo that if you go to the psychologist, you're crazy. I think that nowadays everyone should go to the psychologist and do a little path. And I think it's very, very helpful. And, you know, it's important because we saw that through the sharing of vulnerabilities, you find the empowerment. You find the energy for the empowerment. So I think it's a quality nowadays, being vulnerable and, you know, be conscious of this and accepting the vulnerabilities and sharing them and finding in others and in ourselves the point, you know, to overcome any kind of obstacles or trauma that you can have in this kind of work, but I'm sure in all the jobs.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
It's your turn. If you have a question, just raise your hand and we'll bring you a microphone. Don't be shy.
Hi, Annachiara. Thank you for your speech. I want to make you a question, and I don't know if you have an answer, but you had a very big experience in this field. Have you ever asked yourself what can push a human being to treat another human being in this way?
Sorry, you said to push a human being?
Have you ever asked yourself what push a human being to treat another human being in that way?
Okay. Yeah, we ask this kind of question every day. I mean, we have somehow to put ourselves for how bad it can sound in the minds of human traffickers in order, to understand how we can counter human trafficking. So usually what we saw is that people that make these kind of crimes are people that indeed they have been victim of these kind of crimes when they were a child, and usually it's people that have not been, healed by trauma, and this is not an excuse at all, but it's just, something we have to take into consideration when we tackle these kind of crimes, and especially when we want to solve these kind of crimes. And what you can just imagine is that, it's not something so distant as you can think, because, there are many ways to traffic human beings. And, I was somehow a victim of human trafficking. It's something that you cannot really understand before. But the sad thing is that usually when you understand it, it's too late. Have you ever heard about the rape drug? I see many yes. Rape drug is a drug that is used here in Jesolo, that is used here in Padova, in Treviso. It's not used in Gambia. It's not used in Nepal. And there's a dynamic that happens in discos nowadays. I'm 26 years old, I go to discos, and I study discos. Nowadays, you go to Jesolo, and you choose a girl. There's some dynamics. You can talk with people that work for the disco, and you can choose that girl. They will somehow put this rape drug in her drink, and then you will have the girl for the rest of the night. So, do you think that that's very different from human trafficking? That is not. Human trafficking, Article 21 of the Palermo Protocol, it gives a definition of what human trafficking is. This is human trafficking. I was a victim of human trafficking, and I'm sure some of you may have been. But the problem is that people do not talk about this because it's taboo. But if we do not talk about this, how can we how can we fight this? How can we raise awareness about this? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other question? Yes.
Hi, nice to meet you, Annachiara. I'm Leon.
Nice to meet you.
You talked about human missions were being really costful for you when you were young. And does it mean that if we come with your humanitarian mission, it's going to be cheap for us, or are there going to be some expenses, or how does it work?
Thank you. That's a great question. So basically, we wanted to make humanitarian work accessible. And it was not accessible at the time when I was looking to go on a humanitarian mission, as you said. And usually what we do is that on our social media, we recruit people to come on humanitarian mission with us. And these people will not have to pay anything to come with us. They can somehow, provide us with some services, provide us with, some help, but it does not have to be, a legal consultancy or whatever. It can be also content creation. We do that. And so we recruit people. Then there are other people that maybe if, for example, we set up, the goal of a team that we want to build for a humanitarian mission, and we find the people, then we have maybe some extra spots, like 7-6 spots that we open up to people. And what we do, what Julia does, she makes a very, heavy job on this, but she basically buy the humanitarian mission with the person or guide the person to, like buy the tickets, so everything it's transparent. So you will only have to pay the flight. You will pay the accommodation that usually for us it's, very, very low, like 15 euro per night, and that's it. I mean, we do not charge extra cost.
Okay,
If you're interested, you're most than welcome.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
So once again, thank you, Chiara. And the main insight that I bring home is 40 million people, right? 40 million people that are subject from slavery. Basically, slavery exists in 2025, but I didn't expect these numbers. So my question is, what can we do on a daily basis, maybe tomorrow, to make a statement and to have a concrete impact on this problem that generates, what was it, 140 billions, right? Okay, 50, okay. One.
Yes, well, you can do many things. You cannot even imagine the amount of things you can do to fight this. So if you want to, talk about very tangible things and very concrete things, when you go on parties and when you go on discos, maybe what you can do, first of all, is to stay close to your friends and to see that they are not victims, for example, of the rape drug. Because that's something that I am telling it to you because I am studying it very closely. It's everywhere. It's in Jesolo, it's everywhere. So, like, if you have the possibility to stay close to your friends, to inform them about this, it's already a huge commitment you can do. Then you can come on humanitarian missions in order to see, like, what this kind of crime, how this kind of crime escalate in emergency context. And that's very interesting. And I'm telling also that there is this stereotype that says that this kind of jobs, you cannot get a lot of money, that you will end up with no money. It's not true. Like, it's really not true. There are months when you can't even imagine of the amounts of money we can get as professionals with consultancies that we provide to other companies. So it's a word that inspires you, that really, when you go to sleep at night, you go to sleep and you sleep well, because you know the amount of impact you had, but at the same time, you can live well with this kind of job. And it's something that people usually don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Hi, nice to meet you. Just one question. Do you have any active humanitarian mission in Palestine / Israel right now for the war?
No, we tried to, but as I said in the beginning, in this kind of emergency context, you have to see and to study whether or not the impact you can bring can actually be something helpful or be somehow something that could damage a situation that is already very much broken. And the impact we could bring was not impactful as it was need to be. So for now, because also this it depends, on circumstances, etc., but for now we still don't have. But we have a humanitarian mission active, a humanitarian project active in Nepal, in Greece, Then we have Turkey. We have, we're looking for Latin America to improve soon. And then we have Gambia. So that's the countries we're active.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you so much. Before leave, scan the QR code for the survey, and then thank you, Annachiara.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.